Well, hello there, and welcome to another exciting episode of Secrets to Real Estate Investing by House Flip Masters. Today, we have a fantastic female. I love the ladies that are involved with real estate, and there's not enough of them. So ladies, get your act together and get in here and join us. But today we have a fabulous woman named Deborah Razo. She's an entrepreneur of over 20 years experience in doing multiple business ventures, and her main focus now is on real estate. Not only is she really fun and got a great personality, but she's really brilliant and experienced with real estate investing. So welcome, Deborah.
Thanks so much for having me, Holly. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Oh, we're so excited to have you on and learn from you today. So why don't you give our listeners a little bit of a background to let them know where you came from and a little bit about your journey.
Sure. I've been fortunate enough to be an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I've had a variety of different businesses. Some of them have been sold off and made money, and some of them have flopped. And you learn from each adventure. Currently, I run two businesses, and one of them I've had for over 20 years, and the other one is real estate. And I started my real estate adventures about 6 years ago. I was actually in a situation where I was in a really bad car accident. I think sometimes we get these opportunities to start again in life, whether it's personal things, whether it's car accidents, whether it's divorce, whatever it is, and we get this chance to kind of reevaluate. In my reevaluation, I decided I wanted a different lifestyle, and I realized that real estate could give me that lifestyle. I read Kiyosaki's book, and I fell for passive income big time.
Yes, the famous book.
Yes, the famous book.
The book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for those of you that may not have come across the famous book yet.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And it was a real big influence on me, and especially considering that I was already an entrepreneur. And what I had realized is that I really was self-employed. And if any of you are out there, you guys are really familiar with the cash flow quadrant. And that, when you're self-employed, you're still just exchanging time for money. And I really wanted to own business systems and be an investor. So that started my journey in educating myself in real estate.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit more about your path and how it led you to where you are today and what you're doing today.
Well, I started probably just like everybody else in reading and podcasts. I started listening to the real estate guys and Kiyosaki books. And then I also started to do a lot of self-development. And I actually started following a lot of Tony Robbins' work. And that was really great in just mindset, which I think is really important, especially in real estate. So then I decided, I was asked what my investment philosophy was. And honestly, it was something I had never even thought of. Like, you have to have an investment philosophy? What is that?
Right. Aren't we just making money? What? We need a philosophy?
I don't get it. And I finally came up with one. So my first investment philosophy was to flip for capital and to reinvest that capital and buy and hold for long-term wealth. And so I thought, all right, there's a philosophy. I'm going to adopt that and start flipping. And that's what I did. And I don't know if it's a positive or negative, but the positive was that I made a bunch of money on my first flip, which basically kind of made me an addict.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, again. And then I was fortunate enough to invest that money in single family buy and holds in Memphis, Tennessee, which at the time were really reasonable. And I started, making some cash flow. So that philosophy has worked for me until I couldn't find flips as easily.
Uh-huh.
So then I had to start to change things and figure out what my next moves are. And I started doing multifamilies,
Awesome. Yes.
And so I dwell in the multifamily and the single family markets right now. And what's in between, like duplexes, triplexes, quads, that kind of thing.
Got it. So a lot of people do start on that path where they start flipping, or maybe they start with wholesaling because they build up capital and then they eventually roll over into the more cash flow type opportunities. So you took that path.
I have to say, I don't regret that path at all, specifically because you learn so much when you're flipping.
Right.
I mean, you really learn about the guts of houses and home ownership. And it's amazing how that knowledge comes into play when you're buying and holding, whether it's like trying to get something rent ready for renters and really kind of focusing in on what it is that you should do to best make it show best, or whether you have a property management team on it and they're trying to convince you to go one way. You've got like such a wealth of knowledge to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. It's less expensive. It's more efficient, whatever it is for you. But
Right.
that knowledge can be reapplied in so many different ways. So I'm really glad I started out that way.
That's awesome. What geographical areas have you worked in or are you working in?
So flipping, I've always been in Los Angeles, mostly in the San Fernando and San Gabriel valleys.
Okay.
That's just, really convenient for me. And like a lot of flippers, I'm on site a lot. So I run things pretty tight. Now, I don't do multiples at one time. So, I'm, more hands-on. And so I'm with the contractor or contractors. I remember I flipped a split level. So to do it quickly, we hired 2 contractors, one for each level. We thought we kind of get some competition going between the contractors. And it kind of worked that way, but it just worked out efficiently because we were on time crunch, like flipping is a timely thing. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And then for my buy and holds, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and my multi-units, I'm in Tucson, Arizona.
Wow. Kind of all over the place. Do you travel to those locations ever? Or do you have a team in those areas?
I've traveled there mainly to really set up teams. I like working with a lot of people, but I also like to get to know the teams and get to know the people and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I feel like it's really valuable to make that face-to-face connection. There have been times when the face-to-face is kind of over the internet like we're doing now. Most of the team that I work with in Memphis and I work closely with, I've met them all in person, and I try to get into Memphis a couple times a year. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's good for us to meet and greet over dinner.
Awesome. I love it. I remember reading about an experiment once in a sewing factory, and it was probably, like in the 1930s or 40s. And they were doing an experiment. I'm probably going to mess it up, but basically they were trying to decide what level to have the lights on to monitor the people's productivity, the seamstresses. And they couldn't figure it out because the productivity didn't seem to be relative at all. Like every change they made, they just got more and more productive. And they finally decided it was psychological more than the lights, that the more attention they gave to their team, to the people, the better they would perform. So I'm often reminded of that I just often want to ignore team members and think, oh, they're fine. But they always perform better when they know you're watching or you care or you're monitoring their progress, which you sound like you do a great job of.
You know what? And I think that I try to, thank you very much. But I think part of that training comes from working with Tony Robbins. I actually graduated from student to working for his company. So I go around to all of his different events and I work with the people there. And, the fact of the matter is, I just really love people. Unique and different. Everybody's got a different mindset and a different motivation, and I find it really interesting. And so, I think it's a tremendous gift to be able to give people your presence and just be really present with them and talking to them about what their objectives are, what my objectives are, and how we can meet in the middle and everybody make a win-win out of it. So yeah, it's definitely a passion of mine.
Well, I think you just answered 2 of my upcoming questions of who influenced you and what's the secret to your success. But so definitely Tony Robbins influenced you. If you want to say anything more about that, how he's impacted and his power has impacted your life. And then after that, maybe you can tell us who in the real estate world might have influenced you.
Right. Well, yeah, definitely. Tony Robbins has influenced me a lot. And I think that it's just, basically he's influenced me in so many different areas of my life. But what he's really done and what I actually have adopted is that he really opened my eyes to being able to live whatever life you want. And I feel like real estate is the vehicle for me to do that. I really do want to spend time with people, whether it's my family or friends, helping people at different avenues. And to do that, I have to have freedom of time. And real estate can actually really be that vehicle for you if you're looking for freedom of your own time. I know that, a lot of people do the 9 to 5 thing and really hope for more freedom at some point. And the fact of the matter is, if you invest in real estate correctly, it can actually really bring that to you. And who honed that in for me was the real estate guys. They were some of my first education, and they're the ones that asked me to gather a personal investment philosophy. And once I actually sat down and really thought about what it is I want real estate to do, it really became a lot easier to focus. I don't know about you, Holly, but real estate can be like a shiny object syndrome. There's so many different things to go into. And if you really have an outcome that you're going for, whether it's money or freedom or things, maybe you're looking for that huge house, maybe you're looking for time with your family, maybe you're a woman and you're looking for some extra income for family vacations, whatever that is, if you're focused on it, then real estate can really be that vehicle to bring it to you. So I'm a believer in that, and I think the real estate guys really hone that in. And another person that I'm a fan of is Jay Massey. He's got a great coaching style, and he has a lot of really good basic information for anyone from just beginning in real estate to people that are looking for investors to people who are looking multi-units. It's, I've done a lot of education with a lot of different people, but those are the highlights for me.
Fantastic. And we'll put links to these guys' websites and shows in the show notes too, for other people that want to learn from who you learned from. Fantastic information. Thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you, where are you finding deals now? Where and how are you finding deals?
Yeah, deals have been, here's the thing that I learned, when I was flipping, I wasn't flipping a lot. I wasn't a full-time flipper, but when that market started to dry up for me, I'm like, need to change my philosophy a little bit. And I think that is one of the things that's been valuable is like, okay, be a little flexible in your philosophy and be able to change it as the market changes. So I started actually going back to Memphis and started finding deals there. And because I had already flipped, I could go in and buy foreclosures in Memphis, and then I would form a team there, and I would get them rent ready. And because I had the flipping background, I knew what I was getting into. I wasn't actually moving walls or doing that kind of thing with those houses, but I was forming little teams and putting flooring in and updating plumbing and updating electrical and putting a property management on that team. And because they were foreclosures, I was increasing my margin and my cash flow for a buy and hold. And so Memphis is still a market that is really profitable for me. And because I already have a team there, it's where I'm finding my deals.
So the ones that you're doing there, are you holding or are you flipping?
The ones I'm doing there, I'm holding.
Okay.
I use my flipping background to know how to get them rent ready.
Right.
And to instruct the teams to do that. And then I'm also partnering with other new investors who want to go into that market and get some cash flow, and showing them how to do it as well.
That is awesome. I meet people a lot that say, there's so many different avenues I can take and I don't know what to do or where to do it. And a lot of people get attracted in, I think, to real estate investing with the idea of wholesaling. But wholesaling is a lot of work. I would say it's not as easy as some of the advertisers out there make it sound that you can just go on the internet and find a house under market, buy it, and flip it to someone else for a 20 grand profit. That's not always there. But people sometimes have some capital they can invest. They maybe don't want to throw it away on direct marketing trying to get a wholesale deal, but maybe partnering with someone like you who's already knows the ropes, so they're not going to get burned. I mean, I always promote to new people to work with someone, learn from someone who's experienced, because I've heard of people like losing everything, trying to do a flip deal, putting all their eggs in one basket and their friends' eggs, and then they lose it. And then they feel like they have to pay their friends back, and they're starting in a big hole. And so much opportunity for loss of principal and capital. But yeah, I mean, that sounds fantastic. And I think it's so great that you make that opportunity available for other people to come in and partner with you.
I do. And I think it's easier too when there is joint ventures involved. You know, when I have some skin in the game and you have some skin in the game, we're both in it together, you know, and, you know, being able to, you know, what is that saying? Two heads are better than one, you know, being able to go forth together and knowing that I already have the background and knowledge and the teams for, you know, all of this is definitely a help. But it also helps you because you're seeing how I operate. And then it also helps me too, because I'm looking for people to partner so that everything else can grow alongside each other. So yeah. And you know, one of my focuses is looking for people who are desiring opportunity for growth and a different type of life. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. Okay. Switching gears a little bit. What is one of the biggest lessons you learned in your real estate investing path or career?
Okay, so some lessons are hard, right? I'm going to say that one of the biggest lessons I learned is knowing when to bow out. And I'm just going to do it this way. I was in a deal and the deal was losing money. The deal was losing money on a regular basis, you know, monthly. And I was so like, you know, you get into something and you're committed to it and you want it to work and you know that you're close to making it work, but it's not working. And you know what it is that walking away and going, I lost X amount, you know, and I didn't want to do that. Like, no, I can make it back. No, I can make this operate. And, you know, it was probably one of the best decisions. Like I walked away. I was like, you know what? I'm considering that sunk cost of lessons learned. And I go on. And the fact of the matter is there's a lot more money out there to be made. And my energy and time is better spent doing that than trying to make up for something that was already gone. But it was a hard lesson to learn. Like, how do you cut the ropes? How do you decide, you know? And I realized I have a mentor who once told me, like, when you're in business, don't fall in love with your babies, you know? And I think I did this with my first flip house for sure, because I was like, oh, I was so proud and it was my baby and I couldn't believe how little they were offering me for my baby. But the truth of the matter is, this is, you know, real estate is all about the numbers. And if the numbers are telling you it's not working, stop the bleeding and walk away. And I really had to learn that lesson. And now I look at things a little more practically, I think, you know, in the sense of, okay, this isn't working. Is it fixable? If so, how long will it take to fix? If not, let's walk away.
All right. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. I know. And most investors, I won't say all investors, but I imagine most investors, we have wins and we have losses. I mean, it's not always a win every time. Ideally, it's a net of wins, a whole lot more wins than losses, but you can make your best analysis and due diligence study. And sometimes there's things beyond your control. There's surprises in the rehab. I just experienced a surprise in market change in the Palm Springs area when Canadian investors are no longer interested in buying between the currency conversion problem that we've got, and they bought low and sold high. They don't want to buy. 40% of my market is just gone. That's a market condition I couldn't have predicted a year ago. So things happen and you roll with it.
Yeah. And it's sitting back and going, oh, it's okay to take a loss.
Yeah.
You take a loss and I'm going to move on and I'm going to make more wins.
And sometimes it's, do you take a loss now that's X amount, or do you take 5 times that loss a year from now, or whatever, in the future, if you just hold on because you're like, no, I have to make it work. So.
And that's where I was. And that's why I think that lesson is really actually kind of fresh, but it's still there. And just learning, okay.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of respect for people that can incur losses and experience losses and still move on and move forward. And it's just part of the lessons learned, and you just move on. You don't throw in the towel and go, oh, it didn't work, I quit, I'm going back to work for Samsung or whoever. You don't throw in the towel. You keep going, maybe get more advice, and maybe look to mentors, and maybe talk to friends and peers. Then you hear you're not the only one that had a challenge, and you just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you tell us the most rewarding part for you about being an investor?
Oh, it's definitely a lot of the reasons that I'm an investor is to have freedom of time. And so the most rewarding part is when, I'm out on vacation or out with my family and those rent checks are flowing in and nobody's dialed my number because there's no problems. And I'm like, yeah, this is working for me.
Yes, I hear you there. It's fantastic.
Most rewarding times. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite time every month is the first of the month, when all the rent checks just start coming in and going in the bank. Like, oh, it's a new month. It's exciting.
I know. And there goes the bank account. And you're like, yeah, love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic and fun. Love that. What would you say is, on the flip side, what's one of the most frustrating parts of being an investor?
I'm going to say, I think that one of the qualities you need to be an investor is persistence. And I'm going to say that because you enter, first of all, finding deals, you have to be persistent. Then you enter into deals that actually never close escrow, sometimes. And, it's like, you have that one out of so many different looks and so many different escrows, and then you're closing and that's great, and it's all secure. But it's the persistence. It's the persistence and keeping that focus going on what it is that you're looking for. So I think that's probably one of the most challenging parts of it.
That's for sure. I agree there. And I find what helps with that is when you have a peer group or a mastermind group or someone else that you can kind of keep yourself going with, or, a friend that, I call, wow, I'm having a hard time with this. And they just give you a pick me up and say, you can keep going and you're going to get through this. Or have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And give you ideas. So that's when I find it's best to reach out to others, which, hey, I think that's going to lead me into my next little conversation. I have had such a not only fun time, but valuable professionally at your mastermind groups that you call WREN, W-R-E-N. So why don't you talk about how and why you formed WREN, like what the purpose of that is, and a little bit about that.
Well, thanks. WREN is the Women's Real Estate Network, W-R-E-N. And honestly, it was kind of just formed out of my own needs at one point. My other businesses are in the entertainment field, and real estate is, and both of those both of those areas are very male-dominated areas. And I think I was kind of having a bad day, the persistence thing was weighing on me, and I was like, I want to be around other women who are really rocking it. And so I gathered some of the women that I thought were just like killer, and I said, hey, let's all go to brunch. And we went to brunch and we had such an amazing time with each other that I said, hey, maybe I'll do this quarterly. And they were like, no, let's do this monthly or every other month. And so it's grown into that. And what I've come to realize is that, women do business just as shrewdly as men. If you've ever seen a woman at a sale, you'll know that. But very differently than men too. And it's so really refreshing to be around a bunch of women who are just kicking butt and seeing how they're doing it, and to just, communicate with them, not only use them as connections and, kind of a refreshing, we can do this, we can all do this, but also as resources. I mean, there are some women like you, kick butt, flipper, syndicators, hard money lenders. There's so many different women in so many different areas of real estate that are really rocking it, and it's really refreshing to see them doing that. So it's been kind of a passion of mine to do that. And what I also discovered is that there's all these young women or rookie real estate investors who are women who are also looking for guidance. And so I thought, well, this could be a really great opportunity for them to be able to see a bunch of other women who have really made it. And so we've started having meetings with them too. And we started a website, and it's reninspires.com. And basically, we're there to support other women that are in real estate, whether you're rocking it or whether you're just starting out, and to give tips not only on real estate, but on how to balance this crazy lifestyle we lead. Because a lot of us are moms and daughters and wives, and, there's a lot to balance sometimes.
Oh, yes.
Knowing that there's other women out there doing it, and that there's that kind of support you can get, is refreshing. And that's what I hope to provide for other women. So far it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, so it's been great.
Oh, that fun is an understatement. I just come away from your meetings so energized, inspired, and refreshed. That's a great word. I usually don't lack in energy, but hey, it takes it through the roof. I love it. And when you go to a real estate club in the LA area, I find that they're often 80% men, maybe sometimes more. There's not a lot of women at the clubs I go to. So it's so fun to go to an all girls meeting. It's just really cool.
It is, and we value things differently, and we do things differently, and it's nice to have, a glass of wine together, and it's nice to kick off our heels and talk about all kinds of things. And so it's also, it's nice to be rocking it in a man's world and still treat each other like girls.
Yeah, well said, sister.
Yeah.
So, well, that leads me into my next question, which I think you've pretty much touched on, but if you have anything more to add about how you feel about women in real estate. Is it harder for us, easier for us? Is it any different at all? What do you think?
I've actually been speaking to so many women about this, and it's not just about real estate. It's about women and their finances. And I've been reading a lot of studies, and the fact of the matter is, in most households, women are handle the finances for the household. Let's face it, we do a lot of the regular spending, whether it's shopping for, groceries, or whether it's shopping for furniture, whatever it's shopping for. But in a lot of the household, the investing is taken care of by their husbands, their partners, their spouse, their brothers, whatever it is. And I've really questioned a lot of women about that. And sometimes I think it's just a matter of self-confidence, really. And I've read some surveys about women who maybe, are older, and let's face it, men don't tend to live as long as we do. And, maybe they've been widowed, and the fact of the matter is, because they haven't had the confidence in managing their portfolio, they're losing money. And I think that there's a gap there. And if Ren Inspires can help fill that gap in gaining confidence, in giving you a network of people that you could reach out to say, this is what's happening. Is this right? Is this okay? Can I do better? Then, by all means, let's do that. So I'm all for women in supporting themselves, and helping their families, supporting their families. Lord knows that, our divorce rate is really high. So a lot of women are put in a situation of being single moms, which I have been one. And so I know that road. And to think that there might be a network out there that could help you not only gain some financial independence, but actually maybe financially flourish like real estate can do for you, then yay to that. So I'm all for women, being in real estate, educating themselves, and really gaining that confidence that they need to be involved in more complex deals. Yeah.
I love it. And just to add to what you're saying, I think there's plenty of opportunity for women who don't necessarily want to throw on a hard hat or get their hands dirty. There's investment opportunities where they're completely passive, but they still need to be educated on the asset class in general, in my opinion. I think it's great if, sweet little old lady, grandma lady at the church just hands over her money to you and you want to, work with it. I mean, that's happened to me too. But I love when women learn a little bit about what it is they're investing in, and they can be, smart, be involved, and protect themselves. Because I met a woman at a conference once, and she told me she gave some money to someone to invest. And I said, well, what loan to value are you in the property at? And she said, what's that? She had no idea. My heart just broke. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this guy just taking advantage of her? So it's really important for people to get educated before they hand their money over to anyone.
It really is. And I'm right there with you. And I think that also is about the confidence factor, because the fact of the matter is, when we start to educate ourselves and we start to learn what's expected in a deal, or what's the ARV, what's the rate of return on this deal, whatever that is, we start to gain the confidence of like asking the right questions, right? I mean, it's all about asking the right questions. And so I think that education leads to confidence, and I think that really helps in being able to handle your finances. It's funny to me, because I think, God, women are such great shoppers. I mean, I don't know about you, Holly, but I've shopped with some of my bestest friends. We go out and we get these killer deals. Right. I mean, we're great shoppers, so it's not like we can't do the math, because we can do the math.
That's right. That is true. 100%.
It's about applying it to something else and gaining the confidence in that area,
Right.
So it is about education and application of it. So yeah, I'm all for that.
Well, I love that you are providing a platform for people to learn more and work with those that are more experienced. That's fantastic. So we're getting near the end of our show here, but finish telling us anything else you're working on. You've gotten us a good description of Ren and reninspires.com, and we'll have all this in our show notes. But what else are you working on now?
One of the things that I did this year that's kind of fun for me is that I married my two loves, which is real estate and coaching people. And one of the things that I think is really valuable, especially in real estate, is self-development and mindset. I mean, we talk about persistence, and sometimes that persistence can, wear on you. Like you wonder, like, oh, am I doing this? Should I be doing this? Or you've taken a loss and you think, I'm out, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of different ways that you can change your mindset so that, you can see things in a different light and continue on that journey. For me, it's about lifestyle. I aspire to a certain lifestyle. And so, I'm continually adding to my cash flow until I'm out of the rat race. And then even after I'm out of the rat race, I'm sure that I'll continue coaching people and continue on that journey. But I started marrying those two things by doing a goal setting workshop for real estate investors specifically. And I coach people in what it is they need to get started and how to figure out what that goal is. Everybody's goals are different, so you need to really, focus in on that goal and keep that goal in front of you on a regular basis so that I know that when I started my first business, I was recently divorced, and I didn't want to give my kids over to a nanny. I wanted to be able to have the flexibility of taking them to school, picking them up from school, and doing all those things. And the only way that I could do that is to start my own business. And I didn't realize that at the time, but that was my why. right? Like I was willing to work evenings after they put them down to bed, whatever it is that I needed to do so that I could have that time with them during the day. And it really kept me going because that, handing them off to somebody else just wasn't okay for me. But you have to determine what your why is. And some of the work that I do with people is about uncovering that, about really figuring out what it is that you're going for and what is going to be that leverage that's going to get you up during, at the early morning hours or keep you up late at night to get it what it is you want. So, that's those are my last 2 cents, and then I'll be quiet.
I love it. Well, it's before we sign off, what's one actionable step that you would recommend to a new investor?
Oh, that's good. Education.
Yeah.
Okay, 2. Okay, I've got 2.
Okay.
Education and network. This is a team sport. It just is. Get out there, network, talk to people, tell them you don't know anything. There's a lot of people out there that's happy to tell you everything.
Yes.
There's a lot of free education out there, podcasts, your podcast, other people's podcasts that you can listen to. It doesn't have to cost you a bunch of money, but educate, listen, get out there and network. Those are mine.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you. And thank you so much for your time today. You've shared so many great ideas and I'm sure inspired a lot of people, especially the girls. Woo, woo. And thank you for inspiring us and really appreciate your time here. Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks a lot, Holly. Good luck.
Hey there. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like it and click subscribe to get notified of more videos. And you can go to hardhatholly.com for a free download on secrets to finding great deals.